G'day and welcome to the channel Ginja Ninja's Movie Reviews. I am the Ginja Ninja and these are my Trashy Tuesday movie reviews. Now if you're new to my channel you might be a little concerned by what trashy movies means. Now trashy movies, it doesn't always mean it's a bad movie. Most of the time. Actually no, a lot of the time it does. And look, we are looking at one that actually really is quite a trashy film. We are looking at Killerworkout from 1987, also known as Aerobicide. Now, before we get into it, I do want to say a big thank you to all my new and existing subscribers. It's been a lot of fun getting back into these, doing these trashy films, looking at some of the trashiest films that I can find and diving deep into them because it's an experience. Anyway, this film was directed by David A. Pryor and stars Marsha Carr, David James Campbell, Fritz Matthews, and Ted Pryor, amongst many others. The plot. 2 years ago, a young woman named Valerie was burned after entering a tanning salon. Now, her twin sister, Rhonda, runs a local gym where all of a sudden people are being murdered. Yeah, in all honesty, I might have missed something because I don't recall her being a twin sister. It was just Rhonda was running a gym and yeah, it was weird, man. Like this film started out, someone dies in a tanning bed and then it skips forward and yeah, I had no idea what the hell was going on with this one. But this is a kind of film where if Flashdance had a baby with Friday the 13th, and then it was left abandoned in an aerobic studio with a knife and a metric ton of cocaine, this is what you would get. Killerworkout. Which, as I said, also known as Aerobicide, which, I don't know, I'm not too sure which title I like better, Killerworkout or Aerobicide. Yeah. This is a slasher film that's so aggressively 80s, it feels less like a movie and more like a time capsule that's stuffed with leg warmers and synth music and just this pure VHS energy, which you don't get nowadays. It's trashy, it's clumsy, it's oddly charming, and it's absolutely committed to its neon lit absurdity. For us Aussies, this is like watching Aerobics Oz style with a slasher thrown in. So if you ever woke up early before Cheese TV and watched Aerobics Oz style, not that I did that, you know what to look for when you're going into this. You know, you get the idea of what to expect. And I kind of have no one to blame but myself for going into this one. So let's get stretching. 1, 2, 3, 4, and look at Killerworkout. All right, kicking it off with the cast, which is led by Marsha Carr, who gives a very surprisingly grounded performance, considering the material that she's given. And she does bring a bit of sincerity and vulnerability to a film that desperately needs to anchor its madness. The rest of the cast is a beautiful mess. You've got cardboard cops, cardboard cutout cops. You've got suspicious exes. You've got side characters who mostly exist to stretch the runtime, sweat, and then die. Line delivery ranges from first day acting to regional theatre after a few beers. But here's the thing, everyone commits to the role. There's no irony, there's no self-awareness, it's just pure 80s confidence, and honestly, you gotta respect that. David James Campbell plays Detective Morgan, and he's a stiff, almost wooden in its intensity that really fits into the era's cop archetype. Fritz Matthews and Ted Pryor, they kind of round out the supporting cast, and their performances, they hover between earnest and unintentionally hilarious, but they're committed. And let's not even get started on that fight scene.
Someone who's going to give you some real good advice.
Is that right?
That's right.
Well, I can hardly wait.
Stay away from Rhonda.
Get the hell out of here.
You don't listen very well, do you? Stay away from her. I'm going to take you apart. Piece by piece. You just made a mistake.
Next time, I'm gonna finish it.
Now on to the directing and writing. And look, David A. Pryor knows exactly what he's making here. A low-budget VHS horror. And he doesn't try to hide it. The main issue is the pacing. The pacing here is very rough. There's a lot of standing around. There's a lot of talking about aerobics. And it's almost like it's a philosophy to them. It's their life. When the film looks at its setting, the gym environment, it's almost hypnotic. And that's not the swaying of the bodies and the movement and all that, but that does help. The pacing is the issue here. The film often grinds to a halt between kills, and you're trying to make it more of a mystery thriller than a slasher horror because you're trying to build up that momentum and it just doesn't get there. And what David A. Pryor does to compensate, he repeatedly returns to the aerobic studio setting and milks it for every ounce of visual flair. The camera clearly loves sweaty bodies in motion. What can you say about it? It's undeniably exploitative, but it's also very much of its time. The script is basically held together by sweatbands and vibes. You know, the mystery at the heart of the film, who's behind the murders and why, is very thinly sketched out. It's padded with red herrings and melodrama that doesn't always make sense. You know, characters drift in and out of relevance and motivations are muddy, and dialogue often sounds like it was written 5 minutes before the camera rolled. That said, the writing does have an unintentional charm to it. The film treats aerobics, like I mentioned, like a near mythic importance, like it is all they live and breathe. And you get that in the performances as well. It feels ridiculous to us, but it also really encapsulates gym culture nowadays as well. Now, the plot may not hold up to absolute scrutiny in any way, shape, or form, but it delivers just enough intrigue to keep things moving slowly toward the next kill. And I will say that I am sure that the opening tanning bed death was a huge, huge influence on the very similar death scene in Final Destination 3. Moving on to the effects, and look, practical effects are modest, but they're effective for the budget. The kills rely more on blood splatter than any aftermath of elaborate gore or set pieces that are designed to have absolute mayhem and gushing blood everywhere. It's not about that. There's no wild gore showcases here. There's enough blood and slashing and grim aftermath to keep slasher fans happy, but it's not a gore fest. It's practical, it's messy, and it's very much in line with the sort of grindhouse spirit of the era. Now on to rewatchability, and that's a tough one. I mean, if I'd seen this as a teenager, then yeah, I probably would have watched this a lot. Less for the slasher aspect and more for the ladies, but you know, now, probably not. Unless, you know, unless there was a good reason to watch it, you know, maybe doing it as a watch along or something like that. Maybe I'd watch it then, but I can't see myself putting this in for any other reason. Final verdict. Now, Killer Workout isn't a good movie in the traditional sense, but it doesn't need to be. It's a sweaty, ridiculous, endearingly incompetent slice of 80s horror, and it thrives on excess and nostalgia. And if you're a fan of obscure slashers, VHS trash, or films that take themselves far too seriously when being completely absurd, then Killer Workout is an entertaining trip worth taking. But it's not for everyone. And honestly, it doesn't need to be. This is pure cult classic territory, and I am sure some people will love this movie. Overall for a score, Killer Workout, also known as Aerobicide, gets a 4 out of 10. And there you have it. That is my review of this film. Have you seen this film? Did you manage to get it on VHS and check it out when it came out? I sure as hell didn't. But hey, if you haven't seen this one, do recommend you check it out, especially if you are into, trashy films, if you're into VHS horror, if you hate those nostalgic vibes that you get from these films. Definitely worth finding and checking out. I think, did I see this one on, I saw it on Tubi maybe, but if I can find it again, I'll pop the link in the description below so you can check it out yourself. But if you have seen it, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Always happy to hear your thoughts. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you haven't already, you know what to do. Hit that thumbs up button, it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you're new to my channel and you haven't hit that subscribe button, consider subscribing to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you're notified every time I do release a new review. Now, do have something big coming up, which I'm really looking forward to. I announced it the other day on a live stream, and I've got my little trailer that I knocked up for it. It's the ABCs of Horror Part 2. We're getting back into that. I'm really excited because there are some movies that I've wanted to review for quite some time that I'm really looking forward to checking out. And yeah, we've also got Franchise Fridays and of course Trashy Tuesdays and 60-second reviews. I've got a lot on, so yeah, make sure you check them all out. But anyway, before I blather on too much, thank you very much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.